Hey guys, before we dive into today's main feature, I want to correct some mistakes I noticed while editing the video. Firstly, the item I'm about to show you was listed by the seller as powers up for parts only, not working. Second, I mention a memory technology called FRAM, and I state that it has shortcomings with a limited number of read-write cycles on the cells. That's not true. I was thinking of EEPROM or some other memory technologies. FRAM is good for many millions, billions of read-write cycles. But it does have an issue in this application, which is sometimes when the power cycles, it can corrupt some of the memory locations. And finally, you'll see me struggling to use an option on this device. I think there's an issue with it. I need to do a deeper dive into it. Make sure that the optional board is installed, the jumpers are configured right for it. I don't think the device is recognizing it. So I think that's why I'm not able to get it working properly. Alright, on with the main event. Hey guys, welcome to another unboxing video, another gambling video. And, well, we'll see how it goes. So I'll cut right to it, for those of you who are impatient. It's another Tektronix 2465. I took a gamble on this one, I think about a year ago, and with just a little bit of effort, I was able to get it working fine. And I've shown it in a number of videos, I've been using it on projects, that's why it's where it's at. So why would I get another one? Well, I've been, over the last 6-8 months, kind of retooling, streamlining my workshop, and this will be another piece of it. Notice I only have one signal generator up here now. I used to have a couple. So this is my HP 8662 and Tektronix 2465. Between those two, that handles an awful lot of my needs. So why would I get another one? Well, one, for backup in case something happened to that, but there's a bigger reason. That's not really what I wanted to get. I mean, yeah, I wanted a 2465, but there's a 65, there's a 65A and a 65B, and a 2467. All have pros and cons. One, I got that because it was a great deal. Now, both that and this one I bought on tested, unknown condition. Now, I know a lot of people, when they mention that in the forums or Facebook, whatever, and they ask opinions, hey guys, do you think I should take a chance on this? They say it's untested. Some folks say, oh, they're full of it, and when they say it's untested, they know it doesn't work, and they're trying to reel in a sucker. I found that to not be the case. As you've been watching my videos over the years, you've seen me, I mean, all this stuff I bought used. At a bargain, all of it was untested, unknown condition. Because the reality is, how many people know what a Suncor VG91 is? Or an 8662, let alone how to fully put it through its paces and make sure it's fully working. Most folks, the best they can do is turn it on and say if it lights up or not, and that's about all they know. And I trust them, unless they're a certified used equipment reseller or something, in which case those folks that sell thousands of used pieces of test equipment, they tend to tell you, flat out it either works or it doesn't, or it's been recertified, or it's unknown, or it's for parts only. This kind of fell in the middle of that. It does power up, and they showed a screenshot of it working, but they say it's for parts only, not working. However, if you watch the video on that, it had a problem where the display was collapsed to a little rectangle, and none of the functions seemed to work right. This has exactly the same issue in the screenshot they published. That was one of the easiest repairs I've ever done. I'm hoping this will be as easy. Now, I'll start opening this up while I continue talking. The other thing, though, is this is the B version. That's the base version. I was a little wary of getting this, and I still am wary of this, because the B and I think the A versions have a lurking problem. They, or at least the B version for sure, uses one of those Dallas battery backed up static RAM hybrid chips. So it's memory that holds both the calibration data and all the settings when it was last used. Now I had to think about that a bit because it's an analog scope, so like the volts per division, it's a rotary knob, so what settings are there to save? But not everything. Some things like the source, the coupling, these are just paddle switches up and down, and there's numerous modes. That's the kind of stuff that gets saved, the idea being when you turn it back on, it's right where you left off. But the calibration is far more important. Now an older scope, like say a Tektronix 465, very popular, that has a whole bunch of trimmers inside. When you calibrate it, you open it up, you put in various test signals, test points, and you adjust trimmer pots. This is hybrid. It's a pure analog scope as far as amplifying. It uses a CRT and all that, but it has on-screen display. It has digital readout. And at least some, if not all of the calibration is also done digitally. They probably have digital to analog converters that output offset voltages to compensate or adjust biases on things and gain and whatnot. Losing that is really bad because, well, then it's out of calibration, and unless you just really want to just look at a crude waveform and not take exact readings, you need to have it calibrated. And if you lose that, well, you got to recalibrate it yourself. And unless you're a metrologist and you got some really nice voltage sources and meters and stuff that are accurate, you can't really fully recertify it, or most people are not capable of it, including myself, because I don't have any of that. Now, people have dealt with it in a few different ways, and there's a really good article by Dr. Hugo Holden. I believe he's in Australia. I was just reading about it. He's tried a few different things. One is to replace it with an FRAM chip, which is a ferromagnetic non-volatile RAM. It can retain memory with no power, kind of like core memory, but it has a limited number of rewrite cycles. And every time you turn it off and back on, it's saving those front panel settings. So over the years, you're really going to start wearing out those cells. But there's another option where he actually milled open the Dallas non-volatile RAM carefully with a milling bit. They're like a black epoxy block with an integrated circuit RAM chip with a lithium battery put on top and a cased in epoxy. He ground away the epoxy, got to the battery, replaced the lithium battery with like a coin cell battery holder. So I don't have quite the equipment he has, but maybe I can buy one from somebody and then transfer the contents or something. I mean, for all I know, this one's already had that repair done. There actually was another one of these. The guy said I was taking best offers. I guess my offer wasn't good enough. But his had already had that repair done to it, and it had been recalibrated and stuff. But this is all unknown. However, it looked super clean. So I figured I'd take a chance on it. It was reasonably priced relative. It was $250 plus shipping. The packing job is okay. I was kind of nervous over the past week that it would get here in one piece. But this has, all that aside, there is one other special feature this has. If you've been watching me use the 2465 with video signals, you've seen me struggling a bit to get a good stable lock. Now, I got some suggestions on how to do that, where I could be feeding in a trigger signal from somewhere in the set, like take the output of the vertical oscillator and feed it into the trigger input. However, this guy has the TV options. Yes, there was an option specific for NTSC television. It has a special TV sync mode and a special clamp mode on channel 2. In other words, it's optimized to take a stable, to sync to a video signal. And you can even pick like the odd or even frame on it, is my understanding. So here it is. No probes, no case. There's a snap-on thing on the top. You can have probes in there. I've seen some for sale that have all the probes. That's just bare bones. This is it. It came out of La Jolla Bioengineering Institute. There's a barcode on it. Then why it looks a little bit different too. That has a blue filter. This is clear. But here, I'll zoom in on this a bit and show you the TV mode. I also did my homework on, okay, assuming this powers up and I can get it to work, I definitely want to go over it because this will become my workhorse main scope, maybe for the rest of my life. Who knows? Why? Well, arguably this is the finest analog scope ever made. Certainly one of 400 megahertz. And the reality is this can trigger up to about 900 megahertz. Or at 600 megahertz, apparently it's 3 dB down, which is about half the amplitude, but it's still perfectly usable. Not that I need to go that high, but that means that you could probe like a UHF tuner. You can look at signals that are in hundreds of megahertz, or on lower frequency signals, you get this really sharp, you can see all the fine detail with the rise and fall times and ringing and stuff like that. Alright, so here are the special modes. So they're in purple here. So TV clamp at AC. I think that helps it clamp to the black level or something like that. I got to read up on what exactly it does. But here's the other thing. Triggering source, TV, lines, field 1, field 2, alternate field. That's what helps you lock onto a signal. Oh yeah, and there's one more over here. Line, field line number. I think you can actually adjust this and do it scan line. Like scan line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and actually like progress through the images painting the CRT, which is kind of neat. Alright, so what was the trick to fixing the other scope? It was the beam finder. The beam finder switch was dirty. I cleaned it with a little deoxit and the scope just worked. So, this may very well have that same problem. But, I think we should take a peek inside first. Oh man, the calibration seal's still there. I'm kind of on the fence about that. You know what? I think I'll just try it as is. I don't hear anything rattling around inside. Because the seller had plugged in and turned it on. It's not like it's that old. However, it does have 3 reefa caps in it, assuming it's had no servicing done. And I want to recap the power supply, examine all the caps and stuff. So again, Dr. Holden made a really detailed article, numerous articles about this, because he has a bunch of these scopes and he really likes them, big fan. And he has done some extensive analysis of the types of caps they use, production variations, and things to look for. But yeah, no, this is still all sealed from when it was last calibrated, which is cool. I'm looking for a calibration date on it, or see when it was made. So the option 5 is the one that has the TV stuff. Apparently there's also a version for HD TV. They made this scope for a number of years. I just want to verify a few things. Yep, set up for 110 volt operations. You could also do 230 if you're, say, you're in Europe. But no, this hasn't. It's a little sticky, a little gummy, which I'm not crazy about. I don't know what kind of lab this was in. A little sticky residue. Clean it off with some isopropyl alcohol or something like that. But yeah, let's. Oh yeah, so there's one other cool thing this has. So prior to me getting one of these, if you go back and watch some of my older videos, for years I used a Hewlett-Packard digital scope, which had an auto feature, which I used all the time. So you just took it up to a circuit, just hit that button, and it would automatically adjust the voltage and time base scales to give you a clear, stable image. Well, with this guy, you got to rotate the switches, you got to rotate the time base, you got to adjust the sync and all that. For this guy, this refinement, this has auto. So right up there, setup auto. Save, measure, help. It has a bunch of buttons, these buttons, that don't exist on that guy at all. So this has a lot more bells and whistles, is what I'm trying to say. It's not just higher frequency or whatever, it can do a lot more. So, let's go for it. Plugging it into a PR57, so it's got a circuit breaker and fuse. This also has an internal fuse, so it's not like I'm just plugging into the wall and letting it rip. Now, if this was filthier, if I heard things rattling around inside, or they hadn't been powered up in decades, I wouldn't do this, but the seller had powered it up, and it looks to be in good cosmetic shape, so here we go. Alright. Ooh. That would be the fan. Alright. What is open that. Alright, I guess we will be opening this up. Oh, alright, well. So that's exactly the same problem the other scope had. And I shot a little cleaner in there, I did this a few times, and then it started working, and that was it. And I can see when I push this, yeah, see how it's starting to... It's funny. This must be a really common issue with these scopes. Ah, almost had it. There we go. And it's horribly out of focus. Ah, lost it again. Oh, Awesome. We can fix that. It's just a dirty switch. How cool is that? Alright, so there's a test point. Let me grab a scope probe and let's give it a whirl. Tech, I don't know where I got this, but I'm glad I have it. Tech 6138 400 megahertz probe. And yes, I can see we lost it again. This thing needs a bit of a cleaning too. So we'll just hook this to, so this is the calibrator. So, I mean, honestly, I don't know how this auto stuff works, but that's the kind of thing. I just hit auto and there's our stable waveform. I was expecting to see a real nice sharp square wave though. That's very lumpy looking. Time base works. Oh, now it's getting more. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, clearly I got to read up on how to use the scope. As I'm turning this, the square wave is getting sharper and sharper, but it's staying exactly the same looking. I thought it, like, I'm not quite sure what's happening right now. It's so weird because the time base, this scope is more different in the older version than I thought. So if you look at the older version, it's got your standard time base. It's got switches of 1 microsecond, 2 microseconds per division. This has nothing on it. I mean, it just says like slower and faster. There's no position. Ah, so you really have to read on that. I see. So that number's changing as I rotate this. Ah, you know what I think is happening is as I rotate this, it's automatically changing the frequency on the calibrator. That's the only thing that makes any sense. So when it looked kind of weird, I mean, it was on like 500 nanoseconds per division, which is, I know that's what it's on now. That's 50 nanoseconds per division. That's crazy fast. When you go to the lower, yeah, I mean, that's super nice, sharp, clean sine wave. Just to focus, nice sharp focus. Intensity. Readout intensity. So we should be able to get frequency. There we go. 28.4 kilohertz between the cursors. Oh, that is so sweet. So there you go. Another gamble pays off. No, the focus doesn't seem to be, like, it's not quite fully uniform focus across the whole thing. It's still jittery, so I mean, it needs to be gone over, but yeah, it works. Now imagine some of you are yelling at me to turn it off, and you're absolutely right. I should not have left it running that long, because clearly the fan isn't running. There's no way the fan is that quiet. I'll show you my other one when you turn it on. So there's a bit of a delay, but these things run really hot. There's some specialized chips, big modules, big heat sinks on them, and this kicks out a lot of heat. So we got to do something about that fan. We heard it rattling. Hopefully there's just some debris that's blocking it. Otherwise I got to replace the fan. There's a lot of these out there. A bunch of them get parted out, so there's usually parts listed on eBay. So, you know, one way or another, I got to get a new fan before I run this for any length of time. But one thing I would like to do is try displaying a video signal. Well, I know I shouldn't, but I just couldn't resist. So keep it on briefly. I'm injecting a composite video into channel 1. Let's hit auto. Okay. Wow. Okay, the detail was insane. God, a scope 5 nanoseconds per division. Wow. So let's back this way down with the time base. There's our video signal. There's the color burst. And it's just locked. I just hit auto to make that happen. Let's try a different test pattern. Staircase, auto. Huh, staircase, look at that. That is so cool. Alright, I gotta turn this off. What I don't know how to do is to get it into the TV mode. I'll have to read the manual on that because it's just not getting over there. It's the way you can select the individual field lines and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm very happy. Alright, now let's disconnect everything and pop this guy open and see what's up with that fan. I did take a brief look on eBay, just searching for Tektronix 2465 fans, and I didn't find any. Found lots of other parts and bits and pieces, but not the fan specifically, so I'm really hoping I can resurrect this one. Alright, let's see if we can get this open. First, 4 screws here around these sort of back legs, and then a couple Torx screws. Just got the one down here out. Up here. That out. Didn't get those screws all the way out. What am I saying? Just a weight, maybe. Oh, yeah. Alright, so there's the fan. Let's get this cowl off because I really want to see what's going on with that. Reviewing an article about replacing that non-volatile RAM too. And I was going to eBay for a fan for this. I saw somebody selling non-volatile RAMs, but they were 27 years old. They're saying, oh, they're still good. And maybe, but I mean, they're supposed to have a shelf life of 10 years. So I don't particularly want to buy one that's that old. Oh, this is goofy. How do you get this out? There's a screw, but then it just slides, but it doesn't want to come out. Anyway, there's the fan. Seems to be okay. It's spinning. Let's pop that screw back in and let's try powering it up. We have the fan exposed and see if just give it a little kick and maybe get it going. I'm not so sure this is the original. Read this. There we go. Nadac Beta Ace SL, 12 volts DC, 0.16 amps, made in Japan. I have to go online. I don't really have any basis for comparison. You know, as to what Tektronix would have used originally. It's odd though because the fan is not like held in by anything. It's just I mean, there's this, but it's just like there would be a screw going through each of the corners or something like that. I'll have to rely on looking at photos online or anybody else who's watching this video that might happen to have one of these. Or pop open my older base model. Oh, I see. There's little posts sticking out. I think these are. There we go. It snaps into those. Okay. What a weird arrangement. But that seems like that is the original fan because everything lines up. All right. So maybe just in shipping, something got this lot, or put pressure on something that shouldn't have had it. So maybe the fan will work now. Let's get this rigged up so I can plug it in and turn it on. Well, nah, let me get this cord off. I want to plug it in without having the plastic in the way. Going on. Go up there, this goes here, plug her in. And there's the fan. Well, that was an easy fix. It's moving out alright. Alright. Now let's delve deeper in and see what's the condition of the capacitors, the power supply, and the non-volatile RAM. Maybe the healthiest sounding fan, but it's moving air, so I don't feel I'm not worried about leaving it running. So how does this come off? Oh, just like that. I think. Yeah, I mean, Tektronix did make these easy to service. If you've never seen the insides of one of these, be prepared to be amazed. There we go. A little bit of wiggling in the case came right off, so let me give you a quick tour as best I know. We have boards around all the sides. The bottom, that is your main magic. These are the two high frequency inputs. These two other inputs are very limited in what they can do. I think you just have two voltage ranges, 0.5 volts per division or 0.1 volt per division, and I'm not sure what the frequency is, and limited like triggering abilities and stuff like that. They're mainly used in conjunction with the two main inputs. Like imagine you were looking at digital circuitry and you wanted to see 4 traces on a screen at a time with like timing. You could use them for that. But for as far as like analog high frequency stuff, now you'd use these two guys. And you can see they go right into these magic boxes here, which you would never touch. Funny, they got warnings on them: do not wash in water, detergent, see manual. I'm not going to be putting this in the dishwasher, don't worry about that. And then underneath all of these are custom ASICs or hybrid modules or whatever magic's happening in there. And yeah, you don't touch any of this stuff. But if one needed to, or what you should examine are these. Just good old-fashioned electrolytic capacitors, nothing magic there. You want to look around the bottom of each one, make sure there's nothing leaking out. Some of them are standing proud of the board, which is good because air can circulate, and if electrolyte was leaking it wouldn't get right to the PC board, but some of them are mounted pretty close. So you want to visually examine all this stuff. Yeah, there's 1 or 2 axial caps like this. You should check. And that's like an HPAB interface. No, it's a display sequencer, whatever that is, but that's what that big chip says next to it. Alright, so I don't intend or plan on having to do anything on that. But this is a digital interface board, the 6802 processor, EEPROM, and there's the Dallas chip, non-volatile RAM, 1994 date code, so it pretty well dates when this was made. I forget when they first introduced it. But yeah, 94, so it's 31 years old. It's got a 10-year life expectancy, so yes, we are past that. Now, what I'm going to do when I put this back together is I also researched, and there's a test mode. You hold down a couple buttons or whatever, and it'll run an internal diagnostic. And let's see what it has to say about the health of that. And yeah, I should take I don't have an EEPROM reader, but I should pick one up, get a cheapo one, and read the contents of that ROM. But if you go to the Tektronix wiki site, they have a bunch of ROM images for different revisions of this. So I could get one there if I had to. High voltage supply, geometry, astigmatism corrections. Should never have to do anything with that. Power supply. So that's the main thing I want to check. It's underneath this. It's, I think, in this area. So I don't think we can get access to it without doing a little more surgery. And under this is our wonderful CRT. It's crazy to see. Well, the power switch is on these two, so it's a little push button up front and it goes through. This power supplies, power switch stuff is way back here. So when you turn it on and off, that's what you're doing. And there's a little lever down here that's getting tripped. And if I needed that, the beam finder, the one that was giving me trouble, it's right there. Get it in frame. It's right here, super accessible. But it seemed like just by working it, I cleaned it up. I noticed the outside case was a little sticky. Maybe this was whatever lab environment in this end might have had some stuff in the air and it got down and made those switch contacts dirty. I don't know. I don't see any reason to go spraying any deoxit or anything because it seems to be working okay now, so I'm just going to leave it. Less is more is my thinking in this case. So I'm kind of more inclined to run the internal diagnostic before I go starting to take it apart and poke around the power supply, but I definitely do want to check it. Well, let's see, how hard is this to get at? Oh wow, there's some more magic under here. It's like 1, 2, maybe it's just 3 screws. Alright, let's give this a shot. Also, I was poking around on eBay. I found there's a guy you can send him your 2465 and he'll calibrate it and do all that stuff for $700. It may seem like a lot, but on the other hand, like I say, like this could be like the last scope I ever buy. I mean, it's something to consider. They're professionally serviced, and especially if you can handle the non-volatile RAM and some of the stuff that I'm not quite sure how to go about doing. I think we gotta take some screws out. Okay, this is a little more complicated than I initially thought. Some screws wrapping around the back too. At least all the screws seem to be identical. That's it. Where is it? There's one more screw over here. Super clean inside. There's not even any dust. Yep, one more screw. I noticed some minor issues with the display too, like there's a rotation adjustment that things are a little off tilt. I noticed the one corner got banged. I don't know if that happened in shipping or if it happened a long time ago. I'll have to look at the seller's photos to see if it happened in shipping or if it was there before it was shipped. But anyways, that might have jarred some stuff. But there we go. So there, those caps. Those are some very pretty green caps. But these are the ones in Dr. Holden's write-up that he examined. He's worked on a number of these, and on some he saw some goo around the bottom, like these were starting to leak. These all look super good. I'm pretty sure this thing has never been serviced. Maybe it's never been opened since the day it was made. There's one reefer cap right there. And I can see another one. There's 3 on here total. I see 2 of them down here, and there's one more back here. Those should get replaced. They look pretty good though. They don't appear to be cracked. Because what happens is apparently the plastic cracks, moisture gets in, and it starts a dust spiral. Thought I heard something rattling. That's why I was moving it around. When I said there was more magic, this is what I was talking about. This little hybrid module feeding in the CRT. You don't want to mess with any of that stuff. Alright, so cool. I don't see anything of any concern immediately anyway. There's nothing leaking, there's nothing bulging, there's nothing swelling, there's nothing burned up. So I'm going to pop this back on and slide the cover back on, and let's run a diagnostic on this. Got it all back together, but I have a screw left over. Don't you hate it when that happens? But I know I'll be reopening it to replace that those 3 reefer caps at some point, so I'll make sure to hang on to that screw. But now let's turn it back on. The fan is running, excellent. I can feel airflow. Let's try that diagnostic mode. So I found the instructions online. Hold down both Delta V, Delta T buttons. Now also press the slope button. So that's these 2, Delta V, Delta T. Slope is over here. Yeah, diagnostic. Push A, B trigger to exit. Release all buttons. Now press coupling up button once to run a series of tests. So that. Yeah, cool. There are tests running. And they all passed. It was very quick. Push A, B trig to exit. So there we go. How cool is that? Now that Dallas chip is a ticking time bomb. It may have passed the diagnostic, but it's way past its expiration date, so I gotta do something about that. I gotta hunt around online and see if somebody sells ones that have been modified to use an external battery, because I don't particularly want to do it if I don't have to. And then if anybody can recommend a source for that, but also a EEPROM ROM reader so I can read the contents out, archive them, restore them if need be, I'd appreciate it. Or if anybody else has a 2465B and has some thoughts, tips, or tricks. Because right now I've pretty much exhausted my knowledge of how to use this. I have to read the manual. I have to learn, find out how to get into these TV modes. So this coupling one over here in particular. So we got DC noise, HF, LF, AC line. When I push this is going through the modes, right? But it won't go all the way down. For you guys. So I'm talking about this. So these up-down buttons go through these modes, right? It doesn't get down into that. It stops at AC. I don't know how you get into that purple mode. Likewise, this control's not doing anything. All the controls with purple on them, except for this one. This does something. TV clamp at AC. I just don't know what it's doing. I also need to learn what these 4 buttons do. So my other scope doesn't have them. So that's the auto button. That one I can pretty well understand. You just push that and it tries to adjust the vertical voltage sensitivity and the time base to match, to give you a best view of what you're looking at. And then there's save, help recall, help measure, and then help. Yeah, I don't want to mess with it, I don't want to screw anything up. But interesting. So you can apparently, I think I think the idea is you can save, it says save 1 to 8 directly. I think you can save the way you have the control set up and give it a name so you can retrieve them in the future. I think that's what that's for, which I do not want to do. Well, there already are some in here. I don't want to mess with that, so I think I'm just going to turn it off before I screw something up. Fan's a little loud, but you know, it's really loud in my other one as well. I think that's just how it goes. Yeah, it's very cool. The screen was tilted a little bit. I didn't record it, but I'd take a little jeweler screwdriver and get into the trace rotation, and it leveled it out. That was easy enough to do. Let me get it back up though. Let's see by the astigmatism. There's a focus on the text on the screen is not quite as sharp as I'd like it to be. I wonder if we can improve that. Dim the lighting a little bit so you guys can see it better. Let's get a signal going back into this too, so there's a little more stuff going on the screen. See, I remembered the settings I used last time, so the display is locked right in. So that a little bit of proof that that memory chip is working. So focus. I mean, it's not bad, but like that A1020 up that seems like that could be sharper. So let's see if astigmatism helps that. Yeah, actually. Oh, that is better. Man, that is so wild to see. So I'm in the color bar mode, so each one of these blobs is a slightly different frequency, which will give you, or not a phase or whatever, so they give you different colors, but we can zoom in so close on that. That is so cool to see. Let's try some other stuff. Let's try the multi-burst. That should look interesting. Here's what auto setup will do with that. Kind of a mess. I forgot how to use the delay too, because like I want to move this over, but I'm not sure how to do it. I thought hold off would do it, or trigger delay, but I'm not sure how to quite get into that mode. Auto again. What else? Chroma bar sweep. Ooh. Trippy. Luminance. Chroma bar sweep. A little confusing. Is that the color burst we're seeing? Yes, it is. Oh man. Too much fun. I don't know why it says A1 minus 0.10V up there. I don't particularly want that to be up there. That's cool. Alright. I got my homework to do. That's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this look at a very, very, very beautiful piece of equipment, a Tektronix 2465B oscilloscope from the early 90s.